After our meeting with Fasimedes, we are now back in Sanctum and have to get ready for our departure to Balurea. But Fasimedes also has to make a report to someone else.
Has there been any progress?
Some of the memories have returned. Not all. Not yet.
I could feel something. The imprint of his presence.
Yes, it would appear there was some contact with him. And it isn't quite clear exactly what was gleaned from the artifact.
So we're left with no real clue to what he really wants. And we won't. Until he makes his move.
Waiting is all we can do for now.
Have you heard anything more from Lord Kaizenel?
Only what Lord Weisel already reported. Nothing more.
So it would seem Lord Kaizenel is having considerable difficulty.
Well, yes, he is facing Balar Lord Tiamat after all. And Lord Marchutan of Asmodee as well.
Be ready to send additional support. Just in case it's needed.
Yes.
Until Fasimedes calls for us, we will help a few other people, and one of those is Miriya, the Stigma Master. She was accused of conspiring with the Shulacks. To clear up the accusations, we do our own investigation into these matters. Our first stop is Koroshinurk. As usual for Shugos, he wants us to do something for him before he helps us or answers any of our questions. We shall get on the steel rig ship and get a big Drana crystal for the Shugo. After we hand him the Drana crystal, he is finally willing to help us by handing us a Shulacks stigma. We bring the Shulacks stigma to Miriya and she explains. This Shulacks stigma has two parts. The part that is assumed to be a stigma is different from an ordinary stigma. It is a greater stigma whose usage was previously unknown. I have done a lot of research to be able to use a greater stigma, but there have been no new findings for a long time now. However, while the stigma itself is damaged, the other part is a medium, which is still intact. We can try to use this medium on you, and hopefully you will be able to use the greater stigma. And indeed, we are now capable of using great stigma stones. However, Miriya asked us for more help to figure out how the Shulacks are using the stigma. For that, we return to our favorite snarky Shugo, Koroshinurk. As usual for Koroshinurk, he wants something in return, which is again on the steel rig ship. The bosses on the steel rig ship have blue Surcana, which Koroshinurk desperately wants. As we hand Koroshinurk the blue Surcana, he says there is a problem. He thought that we were captured, so he gave the book that explains how Shulacks use the stigma to Koronurk, a Shugo on the Black Cloud Island. That is simply great. It's such a long way to get to the Black Cloud Island. But it was much simpler than expected. Koronurk just hands us the book and we move on. Also, when we talk to him again, he said the Black Cloud merchants go everywhere for Kina. The Abyss is no exception. However, the base in Rashanta is not just for business. It has a bigger purpose. But he can't tell us more. The details are secret. Maybe we will learn of that secret someday. But let's get back on track now. With the book that explains how Shulacks use stigma, we return to Miriya. After leaving her alone with the book for a while, she gained enough knowledge to unlock another stigma slot for us. As we discuss our plans moving forward, we get called to Maloran, a priest in Hyron. She has new information about the Shulacks' use of stigma. They have discovered that the Shulacks have been getting their stigma technology from Professor Heva Heva. The Professor Heva Heva is a Shulack in Dark Poeta. who researches further uses of Drana. Dark Poeta seems to be a future version of Poeta, in which the Balor have invaded and overrun the land. The Damino forest withered, the few creatures that survived were malformed by the Balor, subjected to horrific experiments. But at that point, we don't know any more about it, or how this time warp came to be. However, to get to Dark Poeta, we need a time activation stone, which is simply an activation stone specifically for the artifact of transcendence in Hyron, which then, upon activation, sends us to Dark Poeta. Once we are in Dark Poeta, we will have to fight our way through the Balor there, and reach Professor Heva Heva. We will then kill him, take his research materials with us, and also take the processed Drana with us, so the Shulacks can't use it to power up the Stigma they have already made. After our completed mission, we return with the book and the materials to Miriya. With this knowledge, Miriya was able to grant us another Stigma slot. But besides our personal reward, we also stopped the Shulacks and their research. With everything that happened here, it seems like we gained knowledge of many more problems that we have to take care of, but we simply don't know how. Not yet, at least. And thanks to Miriya and the knowledge she gained from the Shulak books, we have become much stronger than before. We will be ready for Fasimedes' call and for Balorea.